Now, staying with human rights, the right we enjoy today did come at a price. During his keynote address at the Human Rights Day main event in the Eastern Cape, Deputy President Paul Mashatile decried the worsening levels of inequalities and unemployment in the country. Tonight, we ask whether South Africans understand and acknowledge the true cost of freedom. Let's bring in Dr. Levy Ndou, a political analyst, to help us unpack this. A very good evening to you, Dr. Ndou. And let's start with that question from your experience as well, and just looking about as well. Would you say that where we are now in 2025 in South Africa and the context of what's going on geopolitically as well, that South Africans also truly understand the cost of human rights?
Good evening, Masa. Good evening to the viewers at home. Well, I think it depends. There is a greater part of the South African population that understand where we're coming from as a nation and why are we here. And indeed, that is the generation that associates the fight against apartheid to democracy and associate that with the rights. There is also another portion of the South African population that appears to understand very little about the rights, and to them, their focus is mainly on the rights and not the responsibility associated with those rights. There is also another portion of the South African population that is not interested in what is happening in South Africa, what has happened in the past, what is going on, what is it that becomes their responsibilities in response to the freedom and the rights that we have.
And picking up on that last group as well, that is not interested as well, what is the cost to brand South Africa, but also the lived experience and policy making to South Africa when we look at different groups who don't seem to care much of the dark history?
As I indicated earlier, there is a good relationship between democracy or freedom and the rights. And why I say so is because before we could attain our freedom in South Africa, there are a number of rights that we were not supposed to enjoy. The right to suffrage, the right to life, the right to education, and many, many other rights. And indeed, after democracy was introduced to us, such rights were there for us and we started enjoying them. At the same time, because there is a good relationship between freedom and rights, some people would feel that if they are not being able to enjoy some of these rights, they therefore feel that this democracy is not complete. Others would also therefore decide not to exercise their rights because they would want to punish government or those that are in authorities, and then they decide not to exercise such rights. And of course, because in most instances, people have to exercise their choice in terms of exercising these rights, it becomes a bit problematic for those who expect people to exercise their rights, because they feel that these people are actually avoiding to enjoy what most people fought for and which they see as something that is associated with democracy and freedom.
The first question you had asked is, do South Africans understand, the cost of human rights? But I also think as you're laying out some of the issues that we have, and also just looking at, for instance, our top story where we have 4 people who were killed, yes, because of a patrol that was going on as well, but why people have now decided to form CPFs as well is because the state in many ways has also failed. And the question then would be, does the state, in your opinion, understand the rights of human rights of South Africans? Because when we talk about housing, when we talk about safety, when we talk about the right to water, those are all factors that have been questionable in our democracy.
Indeed, our people and the greater portion of the South African population associate the democracy with the rights. And that is why in a number of stories that many media houses were running in the build-up towards yesterday, a lot of people would be complaining about what they expected from this freedom, which has to be associated with the rights. My view also is that, to a certain extent, government has been able to do something about the rights. Have the section in the Constitution that specifically deals with the rights. The establishment of the Human Rights Commission, it's a huge step towards ensuring that citizens are able to enjoy their rights. And a number of interventions that the Human Rights Commission has made in terms of addressing issues where people feel that they are not enjoying their rights or their rights are being trampled on. My view is that it would be important, firstly, for the Human Rights Commission, with the full support of government, to ensure that they intensify public education on matters of rights, so that citizens are able to know and understand their rights, and also understand their limitations and the implications of abusing such rights.
And speaking of some of those rights as well enshrined in our constitution, it was the Minister of Economic Development, Ibrahim Patel, who had said, and I quote, that the constitution was fought for in townships and villages and factories and universities. That connection must not be lost. Now let's look at the state of townships and villages. Is this something that we can say that the state is taking seriously when we talk about human rights, when we look at the state of townships and villages?
Unfortunately, there are areas where the population would not be happy with what is happening. And that is why some of these people would say, we don't seem to be enjoying our rights. Most of the people that are in the villages and the townships are not happy with the state of affairs. And that, for me, talks to those that have been given responsibilities to change the lives of these ordinary people and make them better. And unfortunately, we appear not to be having people in some municipalities who have got the mindset of ensuring that citizens have to enjoy their rights as enshrined in the Constitution. And my view is that we shouldn't be having more people complaining about not getting their rights. We should be having more people who are saying, 30 years into democracy, something has changed, and indeed we are enjoying our rights. And that, for me, if you see most people complaining, it's a knock to the doors of those that are given responsibilities to make a change, to say maybe they need to start doing things differently, so that we should have a very happy South African population, rather than having a population that is angry and not happy about democracy.
Dr. Ndou, thank you so much for your time this evening. Really appreciate it. That's political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou.